In this video, I am going to share with you a step-by-step pattern of making these cute amigurumi strawberries. So let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to DIYKraftZ. For this project, I am using 100% cotton yarn and a 3mm crochet hook. So let's begin with the stem with the green color yarn. Begin with a magic ring on your hand. Now take the working end from the center. Now chain 1 and secure the magic ring. Now make 3 more chains, that makes a total of chain 4. Now from the hook skip 1 chain and in the second chain make a slip stitch. In the next chain make 1 single crochet, so drop a loop and then make a single stitch. And in the next stitch make 1 more single stitch. So this is the first point of the strawberry sepal, and then make a slip stitch in the center. And now we are going to repeat this pattern for 5 times. So already we have completed the first repetition. Now we are doing the second one. So begin with chain 4. Now skip a chain from the hook and into the second chain from the hook, insert your needle and make a slip stitch. Now in the next 2 chains, make 1 single crochet in both the chains. This completed the second point of the strawberry leaf. Again, slip stitch in the center and continue this pattern for 3 more times until you have 5 points for the star leaf on the top of the strawberry. After completing all the 5 points, make the last slip stitch into the center. Then make chain 1 and now close the magic ring by pulling the starting tail end tightly. You can leave a little small hole in the center. Now trim the excess thread and then fasten off the yarn. So this is the top part of the strawberry. Put this aside and let's start making the actual fruit. For this I am using this pink color yarn. Again it's a 100% 4-ply cotton yarn and a 3mm crochet hook. Now let us begin by making a magic ring. Chain 1 and secure the magic ring. Now for the row 1, into the center make 6 single crochet stitches. So that's 1 single stitch, 2, again needle into the center, drop a loop, yarn over and finish the single stitch. That's 3, this is 1 is 4, 5 and 6. Once all the 6 stitches are done, pull the starting tail end tightly and leave a little bit hole in the center so that we can attach the leaf part on top of this. Now first row is completed. For the second row, insert the needle on the top stitch and make 1 single crochet stitch. So here is where the second row begins. So to identify that, put a stitch marker in that stitch. Now into the same stitch make 1 more single stitch. So these 2 single crochet stitches worked in this first stitch is called as an increase. Now we are going to make increases in each and every stitch. So 2 single crochet stitches in the second stitch, so that's the second increase. Again in the next stitch make 2 more single crochet stitches, so that's the third increase. And in the rest of the 3 stitches also we have to make increases in all the stitches. So by the end of the second row you will have 12 single stitches. So here I am making the last increase of the second row. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the third row. Begin with 1 single stitch and then put a stitch marker. So this marks the beginning of the third row. In the next stitch make a single crochet increase. So that is 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch. So that's 1 single stitch and 1 increase. Now we have to repeat this pattern of 1 stitch and increase throughout the row. So that's 1 single stitch and in the next stitch make 1 increase. That's the second repetition. And now we have to repeat it 4 more times throughout the row until the starting point. So here I am making the last increase of the 6th repetition in the 3rd row, and by the end of the 3rd row we will have 18 single crochet stitches. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 4th row. Begin with one single stitch and then put a stitch marker on this new stitch to mark the beginning of the 4th row. Now in the next stitch we have to make one more single crochet. So that is 2 single crochet stitches, and then into the next stitch make an increase, that is 2 single crochet stitches worked in the same stitch. Now for the 4th row we have to repeat this pattern of 2 single stitches and then one increase. So that's one single stitch. In the next stitch that's one more single stitch, and in the next stitch make one increase. So that's the 2nd repetition, and we have to repeat the pattern for total of 6 times. So do it for 4 more times throughout the row until you reach the starting stitch. Here I am making the last increase of the 4th row, and by the end of this row we will have 24 single crochet stitches. And you can see the shape, it's slightly a little dome shaped. Now for the 5th row make one single stitch in the next stitch and put the stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the 5th row. Continue to make one single stitch in each and every stitch throughout the row until you reach the starting point. In this row we will not have any increases or decreases, we will just make one single stitch. So we will have 24 single crochet stitches in this one, and we have to repeat the same thing for row 6 also. So which means in row 6 also we will have 24 single stitches, and that is how the shape of the strawberry should look like. Now you can stop your work here, and from the center, like the center where you have the magic center, insert your needle and grab the tail ends of the leaf. So we are now attaching the leaf part on the top of the strawberry. Now take these tail ends and along with the thread that is there at the magic center, that's in pink color, join them both by making a couple of knots. You don't have to trim them, you can just leave it in the stuffing itself. But if you are having trouble stitching them further the next rows and all, then you can trim the thread and have a little tail end so it will not come undone. Now let us continue with the 7th row. Remove the stitch marker, adjust the loop on the needle, and for the 7th row begin with one single crochet and then put a stitch marker back onto this new stitch to mark the beginning of 7th row. Now for the 7th row we will have to make 4 single crochet stitches. So that's the 2nd one. This is the 3rd single stitch and then the 4th single crochet. Now we have to do an invisible decrease. So insert the needle into the front loops of both the stitches, drop a loop and make a single stitch. And now we have to repeat this pattern for 4 more times. So this is the 2nd repetition. That's 3 and 4 and then one invisible decrease. So insert the needle into front loops of next 2 stitches, drop a loop and make a single stitch as usual, and continue this pattern for 2 more times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and then one invisible decrease. At a time insert the needle in both the front loops of both the stitches and then make a single stitch. Here I am making the last repetition. So front loops of both the loops, yarn over, drop a loop and then make a single stitch. So this completes the 7th row with 20 single stitches. Now remove the stitch marker, begin with one single stitch for the 8th row and then put a stitch marker back to mark the beginning of 8th row. Now continue to make one single stitch in each and every stitch throughout the row until you reach the starting point. So in 8th row also you will have 20 single stitches. Here I am making the last stitch of the 8th row, and this shape is slowly reducing because we are using decreases. Now for the 9th row begin with one single stitch, put the stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the next row, and for the 9th row we have to make 3 single crochet stitches. So that's 2 and this is 3. Now in the next 2 stitches make 1 invisible decrease. Insert your needle in front loops of next 2 stitches, drop a loop and then single stitch. So that's an invisible decrease. Now repeat this pattern for total of 4 times. So this is the second repetition. That's 3 single crochet stitches and then 1 invisible decrease. And repeat this for 2 more times until you reach the starting point. So here I am making the last decrease of the 9th row, and by the end of this one you will have 16 single stitches. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 10th row. Make 1 single crochet and then put a stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the 10th row. Now for this row, continue to make 1 single crochet in each and every stitch throughout the row until you reach the starting point. So by the end of the 10th row also you will have 16 single stitches. You can just put a count on each and every stitch while you are working so that the count will never go wrong. This is the last stitch of the 10th row. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 11th row. Begin with 1 single crochet and then put a stitch marker back to mark the beginning of your 11th row. Now in the next stitch make 1 more single stitch. So that's 2 single crochet stitches and then make 1 invisible decrease. So it's the same stitch. Put your needle in front loops of the next 2 stitches and then make a single stitch. That's an invisible decrease. And then repeat this pattern for total of 4 times in this row. So 2 single crochet stitches and 1 decrease. Again 2 single stitches and decrease. And like that repeat it throughout the row. Here I am making the last invisible decrease of the 11th row, and this completes the row with 12 single stitches. Remove the stitch marker and for the 12th row make 1 single stitch in the next stitch. Again put a stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the 12th row. Make 1 single crochet in each and every stitch throughout the row until you reach the starting point. So in 12th row also you will have 12 single crochet stitches. Working the last couple of rows could be little bit challenging because the stitches will be less and the project is coming closer to each other. So it's important to maintain the hand tension to reduce the gaps. Now you can stop your work here and add the stuffing into the project just to hold the shape. You should not be too much of stuffing and also it should not be less. If it is very less, it doesn't hold the shapes. It doesn't hold the shape really well. And if it is so, if you're stuffing it too much, the project will look so bulky and bulged out. So it won't look good either ways. It's important to stuff it just the correct amount of the fiberfill. Once it is done, let's continue the pattern for the next row. Remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 13th row. Adjust the loop on the needle. You push the stuffing inwards so that it doesn't interfere with the crochet. Begin with 1 single stitch and then put a stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the 13th row. And then in the next 2 stitches make an invisible decrease. So insert the needle into front loops of next 2 stitches, drop a loop and then make a single stitch. That's an invisible decrease. Now repeat this throughout the row for 4 times. This is the second repetition we are doing it right now. 1 single stitch and then 1 decrease. And like that repeat it 2 more times until you reach the starting point. Here I am making the last invisible decrease of 13th row, and by the end of this row you will have 8 single stitches. Remove the stitch marker and let's start making the next row. That's the 14th row. Begin with 1 single stitch, put the stitch marker back. Now make 1 single crochet in each and every stitch throughout the row. So in 14th row also you will have 8 single crochet stitches. That's 4 and remaining stitches until you reach the starting stitch. Once the last single stitch is done, this is how your project looks like. Remove the stitch marker and then in the next stitch put your needle, make a slip stitch, chain 1 and then trim the excess thread, leaving a 6 inches stuff tail end, and then fasten off. Now let's add the detailing to the project, the little white dots on the strawberry. So for that I am using a white color yarn. Take a long thread of white color yarn into the tapestry needle, and now we are going to attach this thread to the strawberry to give that nice detailing to our project. So around the 4th row, insert the tapestry needle from the open portion on the last row till the 4th row and make the dots as shown in the video, and make sure that each dot is separated by 3 to 4 stitches in between. And after the first row is completed, from the second row onwards, make sure that the next dot will be at the middle of the previous 2 dots. So that way you can make your dots with equal distance, and they will look even cute when looked all together. And this is such an satisfying process to watch and to do as well, and it looks very beautiful once the project is completed. You can just check the guidelines of each one, or you can just make the dots randomly, even that will look good. Meanwhile, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, do subscribe and like this video. And for the return pattern, it is given in the description, do check it out. So here, once all the dots are completed, pull the thread from the bottom opening, make a knot and then hide the excess thread into the project. Now let's do the finishings for this project. Take the finishing tail end into the tapestry needle. Now insert the needle into the front loop of the last row stitches. So insert the needle into the front loop and draw the yarn out of the stitch, and repeat this out of all the 8 stitches also. Once the thread is out of all the 8 stitches, you gently pull the finishing tail end so that the opening will be closed completely. Now to secure this, make a knot, and then we have to weave in the extra thread into the stuffing project. So insert the needle into the closing ring and then weave in the excess thread into the stuffing, and repeat this a couple of times until the tail end is nicely hidden into the stuffing. And once it is done, trim the excess thread close to the project. You can leave it as it is, or you can fix the crown part by using a glue. You can use a hot glue gun or a super glue as shown in the video. Just put a small amount of glue on all the 5 stems of the strawberry crown and fix it on the top of the strawberry. If not, you can just leave it like that. And with this, you have made yourself your cute amigurumi strawberry. Add this to your amigurumi fruit ball collection, or you can use it as a keychains, bag charms, or even car hangings. I hope you all enjoyed watching this tutorial. Do give this pattern a try and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. The written pattern for this project is given in the description. Do check it out. Don't forget to share your work to me on Instagram. See you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it and subscribe to DIYKraftZ.